Well, happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to How to Decide What's Next in Your Career. Today, we're going to make this segment a little fun for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's Friday, so you got to do it. We're about to head into the weekend. It's been a long week. People are in the thick of performance reviews right now and all the Zoom meetings. Also, because we have a record number of people who have RSVP'd today, almost 100 people. So thank you for joining me. So glad you're here. And I love to hear from y'all. So if anybody wants to just pop in the chat and say hi and tell me where you're joining from, and if you want what shoes you're wearing, that would be fantastic. The other reason why we're going to make this really fun is because how to decide what to do next in your career should be fun. If you find that it's draining or overwhelming, or you just have no idea where to start, uh, you're doing it wrong. So, I'm going to flip all the conventional wisdom and advice and ways that we've gone about achieving goals. I'm going to flip those on their heads and I'm going to show you an entirely different way because it's different than how we normally approach challenges in our business lives. So my name is Amy Sanchez. I'm an executive career and leadership coach with a company called Swim Against the Current. I started this about 4 years ago. I partner with corporate leaders as they're going through career transitions to help them increase happiness, impact, and earning potential. Everything that I'm going to share with you today is what I use when I work with my corporate leaders to help them discover what their authentic career path is. Once you figure that out, that's when the magic starts happening. I see the happiness increase. I see people show up differently, both at work and at home. I see them start to honor themselves better and set better boundaries. And I also see them make a lot more money. So that's not important to everybody, but if that's important to you, that is in play with what we're talking about here. So to make this extra special, I actually put together a PowerPoint for you all today. So let me go ahead and pull that up for you. And the fun game that we're going to incorporate into today's session is there are a lot of people throughout history who were in their career for a number of years before they stopped and decided to do something entirely different. And there's one person in particular that I'm going to feature today and give you clues about what her name is. And at the very end, I'll reveal the final clue, and then you all can guess along the way who this person is who spent the first many years in her career in one industry before she switched to another and was extremely successful doing it. So here's your first clue as to who that might be. Ooh, you guys, I just showed you the last clue. Hopefully you didn't see that. Okay. This person was in advertising, media, and secret intelligence before publishing her first cookbook. So if you think you might know who this is, type it in the chat. If not, I'll give you the second clue later. So we're going to talk about three things today. First of all, what questions to ask yourself when you want to be very intentional about your next career move and all the ones that follow. Second, how to position yourself for the role you want when you decide what that is. And third, practices to put in place today to take you from responding to job offers to strategically setting your career course. So if any of those appeal to you, if this is something you've been struggling with, if you've been staying awake at night because you just don't like your current role and you're ready for something different, you're in the right place. I'm going to tell you where to start. And before I get into that, I'm a strategic, big picture person, and it always helps me to go up to a 10,000 foot view to really analyze what I might be struggling with at a different angle. So I'm going to help you do that today. So a very common cycle as we start our career is we earn a practical degree. Typically, we might have a different desire or passion that we want to pursue, but because we're still young and impressionable and asking people their opinion, we tend to be shepherded into a path that's secure and is going to increase our odds of making money and have a high social status. And as a parent now, I understand the desire to do that with your child, but it can squelch creativity and it can often take us off the path that we're meant to go on. So, for whatever reason, many good reasons, that ends up happening. We're shepherded into earning some kind of a practical degree. Then we focus on making money. In our 20s, it's all about increasing getting promoted, making more money, trying to figure out how to grow in your career. Then at some point, you get to the leadership level. You find yourself sometimes in a grind and you're making lots of money. In fact, many people characterize this as the golden handcuffs. I'm at a point now where I just can't leave because the stakes are higher, more people rely on me, and if I leave, there's a lot of money on the table that I'm leaving behind. So yeah, I feel this itch and I'm not very happy and I'm pretty burnt out, but I can't leave because of the money. Now, I'm not going to minimize this. This is a real thing, and if you're experiencing this, if you can relate to this, I see you, I feel you. Um, it's understandable that you feel this way, but I'm going to help you see things a little bit differently so you don't feel so stuck. Finally, you get to a point where, you start to wonder, what else is out there? And if you're joining me today, if you've decided that you want to be here, you're probably experiencing this in some capacity. The way that we can explain this from a psychological explanation is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You're a high performer. You've been working your way up the career ladder. And so you've satisfied a number of needs at the bottom of this pyramid. Certainly, your psychological needs, your safety needs, love and belonging. Usually, when people come and start to work with me and are asking themselves that question about what's next in my career as a corporate leader, they're toggling between this esteem and self actualization phase of the hierarchy. They've satisfied the bottom rungs of the pyramid. Some of them have even got to VP, CEO level. Now they're ready to make their impact. They're ready to impart their strengths, their gifts, everything they've learned on the world in a slightly different way. And this is the self actualization. If you're at the esteem piece of this is where I've worked so hard. Now I'm ready for that VP role. I'm ready to start my own company. I'm ready to leave my legacy, leave my mark. So I show this because I want you to start to identify where you are on this hierarchy of need. And not necessarily what's the next job for you, but what is the need that you're looking to fill as you think about this next step in your career? What is most important for you? Here's what not to do. And this goes against conventional wisdom because this is where a lot of people start, and it's understandable why, because it's easy to do. A lot of people, when they're ready for a change in their career, will hit the job boards and look at job postings and just scroll and scroll and scroll. And I have so many people who come to me who want to work with me that say, just nothing looks good. I don't like any of this. And I'm afraid. I'm afraid I'm not going to find what I'm looking for. And then it's really easy to just stay on the path you're on. Because let's face it, change can be hard. And it's easy to stay in what's comfortable, even if it's not really what you want. So try not to go here. If you're looking for something, don't start by looking at job postings. It's the same reason why if you're feeling bored, don't pick up social media. If you're really looking for a way to find peace and restoration, this isn't where you go first. Second, you don't want to talk to your boss when you're in this ambiguous, I don't know what to do phase unless you have a very unique, trusting relationship with your boss. And the reason why is because if your boss knows that you're not really happy where you are, it could start to incite fear and anxiety. And you might be taken off projects that you don't want to be, or they might not invest in you as much. So let this percolation of what you want to do next in your career go a little bit further before you share this publicly to people who can determine your fate at work. Third, it's really easy to go to loved ones and friends, and this is natural. This is all part of the process. Of course, you want to do this because as human beings, we need a support network to get through pain. But try not to rely on others to answer the question for you. The reason why is because people, trusted people that you're talking to, often have a stake in your happiness and sometimes a stake in your outcome. And they can't see what you really need. They could give you clues, and it's very helpful to talk to trusted sources when you're feeling this way. But the real work to really determine what you want to do next in your career, that comes from you. Only you can answer that. At a high level, this is what you're going to go through. So right now you might be find yourself at level 1, stress, anxiety, unhappiness, daydreaming. It's the itch before you make a change. This is a really important part of the process because if we didn't feel this, although it doesn't feel good, if we didn't feel this, we wouldn't be pushed to make a change. So just know that those icky feelings, those keeping you up at night, it's an important part of this process. Embrace that and ask it what it can tell you to help you move past that into the next chapter because you're being called to another chapter in your career. After you get through the stress, anxiety, ooh, this is all jangled. So let me just pull it all up here. Uh, then you decide, okay, I'm ready to make a change. You know what? I'm tired. I'm tired of feeling this way. I don't want this anymore. I'm going to do something different. Life is too short. No, it is important for you to first determine that I am ready to put my time, energy, and investments into making a career change. Because if you're still stuck in that phase one of just unhappiness and daydreaming and anxiety, um, it can be hard to see the forward action. So you got to decide, hey, I'm ready. I'm going to make a change. This is it. It's time. Once you're there, then you can start getting into this dream sequence and identifying your dream role. You get into a feasibility check to make sure that what you're envisioning is actually what the reality is. Then you pursue your dream job and start your dream job. So let's talk about if you've decided that you're ready to make a change. And if you're not there yet, that's okay. You might just be thinking about it. It's all part of the process. But if you're ready, here's where you start. There are 3 things that are key to work happiness: finding work that fuels you, incorporating ways to tend to your needs to keep your energy high so you're available both to yourself and to others, and income and hours that support your priorities. So, at a really high level, we're looking for the intersection between these 3 things as we think about the next job that's going to really increase your happiness, impact, and earning potential. Here are some questions to ask yourself. And by the way, go ahead and either take a screenshot of this, jot these down. Everyone who's RSVP'd, you're going to get a link to the playback of this video. So just know that this will be coming to you if you didn't want to write this down now. Oftentimes, when we approach questions like this in the business world, we come at it from a very cognitive standpoint. I'm going to reason my way and think my way through this problem. That might be why you're getting stuck. There is a cognitive process to figuring out what's next in your career, but if you really want to find something that complements you as a unique individual, honors your values, and takes you to the place that you're authentically wanting to go and being called towards, You also need to start to invoke your feelings in this, which I know sometimes get a bad rep in the business world, but guys, it's really important to pay attention to your feelings because they're telling you things that you'll want to tune into and your intuition. So through this process, you're going to use your thinking hat, your cognitive abilities, which I know you guys use all the time, but also you're going to tune into your emotions and you're going to use your intuition. So with those three things firing, carve some time and think through these questions. When did I feel the happiest in my career? Think back. And for a lot of my clients, what they'll tell me is, it's not the last 20 years building my very successful leadership career. It was this cool job that I had in college. So there are no boundaries here. Suspend judgment as you do this exercise. Just be really honest with yourself. When did I feel happiest in my career? Flip side of that question, when did I feel the worst in my career? These questions will start to spark memories for you, and then kind of peel away the onion. Once you figure out, okay, what was the time when I felt the happiest or the worst in my career? Then start to dig deeper. Why did I feel happy at that time? What were the components that contributed to that? Why did I feel the worst at that time? What was happening for me? Um, who was I interacting with? What was the environment like? What were my tasks like day to day? What was I doing outside of work? Think about all these things. This is a very holistic process that you want to go through so that you can go from just feeling foggy about what's next in your career to being very targeted and strategic and in line with what's going to work for you. A part of this, too, going back to that last chart we talked about, is what are you really good at doing? When we're doing activities that we're good at doing, that's when the likelihood is much higher that we're going to be in our zone of genius. We're going to deliver really good results and we're going to feel fulfilled and fueled. So what is it that you're really good at doing? What do you hate doing? Let's get that out of the way. And by the way, when my clients go through this exercise, um, this not only helps them unlock, what do I want to do next in my career, but it also helps them unlock right now in this place that I'm in the job that I'm in, what are the priorities that I want to focus on versus what are the priorities that I want to delegate or get off my plate. So this is a good exercise for both of those goals. What is the one thing in your career that if you didn't do it, you would have regrets? Another way to ask this is at the end of your life, as you look back on your life, how do you want to be remembered? So this is very much a get yourself out of the weeds, big picture. What is it that you really want to do that you would regret doing if you didn't do it now? And particularly when you're at that senior level in your career and you're starting to look at fewer years ahead of you before you retire, this is a really important question to ask. What are your top values? How well are those being honored? I take all my clients through one session where we just focus on values. This is such an important part of answering this question. So if you're not clear on what your top values are, make sure you spend some time thinking about that. What are your top values? How well are they being honored? Many times, as people go through this exercise, what they'll find is their top values are not being honored at all. And all this angst and anxiety and unhappiness they're feeling is because they've been brought up into a career where they're in an environment that doesn't allow them to honor their top values. That's never going to be a good fit. So, what are your top values? How well are they being honored? What dream do you have for your career that you keep ignoring? Um, when I hit this stage with my clients and we start to pull that out, I would say 10 times out of 10, uh, something that they've written about the dream they keep having for their career that they keep ignoring ends up being where they go. And this is where we see so much unlocked. And this could be something maybe you haven't even shared with anybody else. And um, now take any constraints off as you answer this question. You want to just open up creativity as wide as it can go, because that pendulum swing is really important as you start to narrow in on, okay, but what is it that I really want to do? So, what is that dream for your career that you keep ignoring? Get it out, get it in the open, write it down. And then finally, write down a list of careers and industries that you're interested in. Once you've gone through this exercise and really given it the time and space that it needs, um, to unlock some really important questions for you, you should have a good list of careers and industries that you're interested in. And I'm guessing many of you kind of know what that is already. There could be other things that come into play at this point. It can be fear, fear of leaving something I know so well, fear of security. If I leave my current job behind, am I going to make as much money? Am I going to be good at what I do? This is where we see a lot of imposter syndrome show up. Feel that and push through it. Push through it. Yes, you can absolutely do this. As you look at your history, you have a history of success. You have a history of setting goals, achieving them, and getting to where you want to go. So your next goal may be very different from the one that you set back in your 20s, but you have the capability to reach it. So don't restrain yourself as you go through this exercise. And if you find yourself needing a little bit of extra support, that's okay. That's understandable. Um, it's not easy to do this. Um, know that that's available and that's out there. Okay, back to our game. Back to Friday. I hope this is starting to jog some ideas for you in your head, and I hope this has allowed you to take a little bit of a break from the work ennui and think in a slightly different way about you. So, second clue: this was the first woman inducted into the Culinary Institute of America's Hall of Fame. Mm. And let's see. I'm gonna go to my chat. Oh, I've got a couple guesses. Hey, Kathy, that is not correct, but I appreciate you jumping in. Angel, I'm so glad you're here. I am not in secret intelligence. Randy, I think you got it. It is Julia Childs. Oh, amazing. Okay, so fantastic. Oh, and Angel saying that you can't see my slides. Let me see. Let me just make sure that you guys can see what's going on. Thank you for sharing that. LinkedIn Live, this is still kind of a beta, so it's not the best format right now, but they're getting there. They're certainly going to get there. All right, let's see. Okay, I'm going to go back to my slide deck. So once you go through all those questions and you know what you're thinking about, you kind of know what a couple of key targets are. You'll want to go through what's called the feasibility check, and that's not what's in this slide here. So I'm going to back up for a moment. Talk to people who are in the industry and really learn everything that you can about this next role. Is it everything that you're envisioning? Sometimes the dream that we have or the vision that we have is different from reality. So make sure that you start asking around, do research, talk to people who are doing the work that you're interested in, make sure that the vision you have in your head matches reality. Once you know what your target is, and it's really important first that you narrow in on your target. So everybody who's joining me who's in a marketing capacity, you get this, right? Before you build a marketing campaign, you first need to know who your target market is, what your reason to believe is, and what the lead messaging that you're going to lead with. It is the same thing as you go to sell yourself in the job market. You first need to know what your target is and what you're looking for. Where I see people fall flat is they decide they're ready to make a job change and then they just throw their resume out to the masses. And what happens is they end up getting a lot of different opportunities They haven't spent that extra time thinking about what it is they really want. And this when this happens, it's very often that history, the unhappiness that you felt before will repeat itself. So make sure that you take time to really think about what you're looking for so you can build your brand. So, what I mean by building your brand, look for a couple jobs that are really interesting to you. That encapsulate what you're looking for. And if you're starting your own business, which about 20% of my clients do, that's what I did. Um, then you'll want to think about how to this when you start to build your brand. This is more around building your website, and building all the things that you're going to need in place to open your doors to your business. So whether you're staying in the corporate space, building your brand happens on LinkedIn and via your resume, or you're doing this as an entrepreneur, that's where you're going to start building your website, also your LinkedIn if it applies. But you want to know what your target is so you can pull in the appropriate keywords. Then you want to develop a targeted networking strategy. 70 to 80% of all jobs, particularly at the senior level, when we get into the senior level, it's closer to 80 to 90% of all jobs are are um, are landed through networking. So if networking is not currently a part of your job seeking strategy, you're missing out. This is absolutely essential. In fact, spend more time here than you do searching job boards, um, because networking is how you're going to find your next role. So, develop a targeted networking strategy. Who can you talk to? Who can help you learn more about this job and help you get your foot in the door there? Make sure every time that you talk to somebody after you've developed your networking strategy that you know what your call to action is. And I'm going to use a marketing term again because that's my training and it absolutely applies here. What's your ask? When you talk to people, not only, what are you looking for, but they're going to want to know, how can I help you? So know what your ask is. Can you introduce me to somebody else? Can you put me in touch with the hiring manager? Can you tell me what it takes to get this type of a role? Um, can you um, can you tell me, if there's anything else that I need before I apply to this role, or how do I apply to this role? What's the best way? Is it through you, through a referral, or do I drop it online? Figure that out. And by the way, recruiters are a great resource for this, but know if you're super focused on a certain job, the recruiter will get a percentage of what you're paid if you go through them. So sometimes you're more attractive applying for a role when you're not attached to a recruiter. Certainly, if a recruiter's told you about it, you want to honor that relationship and their efforts and go through them. But just a little background, little insight for you. And then do something, not someone, do something every week consistently until you make some traction and get what you want. So, knowing what your target is a really important part of the equation. It's about half the equation. The rest of it is consistency. Do something every week until you get there. So, what does this look like? If you were to say, hey, Amy, a lot of information here to think about, but what do I do today? Start by carving out time and asking yourself what you really want. So, go back to those initial questions. Use your mind, use your feelings, use your instinct to help you with this. As humans, we're the only animal that have those, the only being that have those three areas available to us. So use it all because it's all going to help you find the answer you're looking for. So carve out time, ask yourself what you really want. Don't rush this. A lot of people will hire me and say, okay, I need to be in a new job and I need to be in my dream job like in a month. I love that. I love that ambition and that motivation. But sometimes you can't rush the journey. You have to go on the journey you need to go through to get there. So it can be really frustrating when it's not happening as fast as you want it to, but just try to trust that it's going to happen. That takes me to point number 3. Trust that what you desire will come. This is such an important part of the process. So another piece that I see to this, and by the way, you keep seeing me look over here. It's because I have a pool right outside, and and it's really hard not to look at my pool right now because the sun is shining. There's palm trees around it. It's really, really beautiful, um, and it brings me so much joy. So that's why I keep looking outside. Trust that what you desire will come. If you go into this process thinking that what you want you're never going to get, you're not going to get it. I mean, that it's that simple. You have to believe in yourself, and you have to believe that what you would desire will come to you. And again, look at your history. You guys are corporate leaders. You have a history of success. I guarantee you can point to a situation in your past when you set your sights on something and you made it happen. Trust that you will do it again because you will. If you want it, if you identify it, if it's the right thing for you, and you'll know that by going through this work, it will come to you if you keep putting one foot in front of the other and working towards it. Because we're so busy, because we're in back-to-back Zoom meetings, because our calendars are so full, one good way to ensure this is going to happen is put time in the calendar to work on this. So, um, you have taken your first step by joining me today. Perhaps it's Fridays at noon or 3, depending on where you are joining me in the world, or 2 o'clock for those of you in Central. Um, Carve out this time once a week for you to dive into this. You owe it to yourself to do this. Um, because once you figure out what the thing is that you're meant to do, magic starts to happen, you guys. And it's really, really remarkable the outcomes that I see people achieve, particularly you all, these corporate leaders. So, Julie Child Barrett, ding ding ding, that's absolutely right. You got it right. And not worth showing you my last clue since you guys have already figured it out. But here's what's interesting and really unique about Julia Childs. She was actually, before her legacy that we all know her as a top chef, um, she was in business and she was in secret intelligence. And it wasn't until 50, the age of 50, when she published her first cookbook. Imagine if she hadn't done that, what she would have missed out on. So, at any age, this is possible. Julia Child did it at 50. She left a legacy. It's how we all know her. We don't know anything about her life before this. And had she not followed her dream, who knows what would have happened? But it increased her happiness, her impact, her earning potential. And when you find the thing you're meant to do, the same thing will happen to you. There's so many others examples of this. Michael Bloomberg, we know him because of Bloomberg. He was the CEO of Bloomberg. Then he became the mayor of New York City. Completely different career path, but he was very successful for 12 years. Um, Vera Wang. Did you guys know that before she was a famous fashion designer, she was a figure skater and a journalist? At the age of 40, she went through this exercise similar to what I'm sharing with you, decided to take the leap of faith, get into the fashion industry, and we all know what happened after that. Ronald Reagan. He was an actor before becoming president. I love that line in Back to the Future. When Marty tells Doc that Ronald Reagan is the president in 1985, and Doc says, "Ronald Reagan, the actor?" So true. I mean, it's surprising that people can make such big leaps, but so many people in history have done it and been extremely successful. You can too. I did it. It was scary. I went through a lot of fear. I went through a lot of resistance. I went through a lot of, can I really do this? But guys, 4 years later, I am absolutely loving what I do. My business is growing. I get to work with really, really incredible leaders. And we had a fantastic year of outcomes last year. So my real passion is working with corporate leaders and helping them make the transitions that are going to increase their impact, their happiness, and their earning potential. So, if this is something that sounds interesting to you, You can apply for career coaching now if you're ready for it. Certainly, I have a couple spots left, and I'd be happy to chat with you and see if we'd be a good match in working together. I also have additional training come up. I had so many people express interest in this that I wanted to help. I wanted to help more. So this is the first step: how to decide what's next in your career. Coming up on March 4th at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, I'm actually going to do an entire segment where we talk about planning your career roadmap. So if that's something that you're interested in learning more about, it'll be completely confidential and what's the word I'm looking for? Complimentary. It will be free. So um, here is if you want to learn more about that and you want to be one of the first to get information about that, just hop on my mailing list and you all will be the first to have access to register for that. Again on March 4th at noon. How to plan your career roadmap. Um, I'm super honored and grateful to be here and that you've joined me and spent part of your Friday with me. Thank you. I look forward to hearing what you all do with this information and what it unlocks for you and what's next for you in your career. So please keep me posted. I love to hear from people and what they do with this information. And I look forward to staying in touch. I hope you all have a great weekend. Go do something fun and start to think about what's next for you in your career. Happy Friday, everybody.